Hey everybody, Tom Ludemoser here. I just want to thank you for checking out the channel. Thank you for watching the video. And I would like to encourage you to like, subscribe, comment, and follow or share anything else that you think you can do on YouTube. Please do it. So my video today is going to be very, very simple. It's going to be very, very quick, but it is going to be about a topic that not many people like to talk about. The reason I'm making this video is because, as you can see, I'm at home. I'm not at the dealership. I'm not wearing my professionals. So I was here with one of my family members who was talking about this, and it made me want to make this video. So this is just simple advice for you if you have iffy, bad, less than perfect, or no credit at all, and you still want to buy a car. So the cool thing is, even with that type of credit, you can still buy a car. You can go to a dealership and buy a car. So here are my top 4 things, my top 4 pieces of advice to help you get driving if you are in that situation. So what would you consider bad credit? Well, subprime is typically 660, 670 or below. Kind of depends on the area, depends on the situation, and it depends on your credit history, not just your score. So what do you mean by credit history, Tom? Well, you can have a high score, a pretty decent score, and have collections. You can have a pretty decent score and be getting a higher interest rate. It's all about the history of your score. So advice piece number 1, this is huge. This is the key. This can save you a lot of time, money, and heartache, and that is to simply know your score. How do you know? How can you find out your credit score without going to a dealership, going to a bank, getting your credit run? Because you can check your score every year for free, which each of the credit bureaus, those being TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. With that being said, if you constantly view it, if you're constantly on top of it, if you're constantly all of your credit, it can be a little fuzzy, it can be funny. If you don't know what you're looking at, it can be hard to do. So sometimes I do recommend going with a banker or someone who knows what a credit score works, how a credit score works. A little tidbit in there. Tom, I have Credit Karma told me I have a 720. I hear that all the time. I love Credit Karma. Credit Karma is a fantastic tool. It is a fantastic bit of advice. They have tons of great advice. How to build your credit, how to pay off your loans early, where you need to improve, where you need to tone it down. It's tons of advice, tons of great information. They get links to banks, links to credit cards, and it is awesome. But when it comes to your actual score, they are typically not spot on. You can have about a 4 to 80 point swing. I've seen that in people's scores. I've seen it in mine. I'll give you a prime example. My credit score at the time that I looked at it was 680 on Experian, but when I went on Credit Karma, it told me I had a 705. That can be a decent difference. That can be an interest rate point or two, depending on what you're looking at. That's why I recommend checking it out with the bureaus themselves. Sometimes that swing is higher than what your actual score is. Sometimes that swing is a little lower, but it can happen. 5 points is not going to make a difference. It's not going to make or break you. It's not going to be the difference between a 24.99 interest rate and a 3%. It's not. 80 points can be a difference. That I can tell you. Item number 2. Great piece of advice here. Don't see it enough. Don't hear enough salespeople talk about it because most salespeople don't know. But that is bring everything. When I mean by everything, bring me your last 2 pay stubs showing exactly what's on your application. So if you put on your credit app that you make $100,000 a year and your pay stubs say you make 50, little discrepancy there. Banks will get a little questionable about it. because typically we have to submit copies of your pay stubs to the banks, and if it doesn't prove it, they're going to ask us why that is, and we're going to have to ask you why that is. So best just to avoid that. Next thing I recommend bringing, a utility bill. So DTE, Consumers Energy, Xfinity, whatever you have as a power source or a utility at all. Water bill, bring it. As well as bring your driver's license and be prepared for a down payment. So bring down payment. Does that mean you are required to have one? No, but most lenders will give a subprime auto loan, what they call STIPs. That's what these are. One of the stipulations may be down payment. Personally, I recommend bringing a minimum of $750 cash, check, or debit card. Can't do credit, but sometimes they may want more, sometimes they may want a lot more. It just depends on, like I said, your credit and your situation. Here's a big one. This is some really key advice that even in selling cars, no one even told me until I learned from experience, and that is come at a reasonable time. If you know your credit is less than perfect and you feel like you might have a challenge getting a car, don't come into the dealership on a late day unless you absolutely have to. Why do I say that? Because it is highly recommended you come while the bankers are at work. We as a dealership have to make phone calls, send emails, send notes, send letters. Letters is a joke. To the banks to try and, on your behalf, get you approved for a car. Why do I say come at a reasonable time? What is a reasonable time? Somewhere between 9 and 4. 9 and 6, that's the reasonable time. Banker's hours. That's a good key as well. Come during banker's hours and come ready to sit and wait. Unfortunately, it does take more time, but that's because we're working for you. We're not just submitting it. The bank says no, and we go, okay, can't do it. We don't do that. Any good finance person is going to sit there, and when a bank says no, we're going to say why. We're going to ask them, what can we do? Is it the car? Is it too much car? Is it too old of a car? Is it too high mileage? So with that being said, it greatly increases your chances of approval as well as reduces your trips. If you're one of those folks that does work late hours, it happens. It does, absolutely. No argument. That's why dealers are open till 9. Some of us twice a week, some once, some every day during the week. But it does increase the number of trips that you have to make. For example, if you show up at 8:30 and I need a call back from the bank, it's not going to happen until the next morning. So I don't want to say wasted your trip, but it adds another one. Number 4, great advice here. This is one I have seen online. It's not necessarily something I've learned from experience, but just talking to fellow salespeople, special finance, things like that, something I learned. Tip number 4, go to the big stores. Go to your local Chevy, Chrysler, Ford, Toyota, Honda dealer. Why do I say that? Does that mean I don't want you going to the little stores? We want to knock them out of business? No. Why do I say go to the big stores? Because we have more lenders typically. Most dealers will average somewhere between 15 and 30 different lenders. So we have 15 to 30 different options to get you approved. Smaller dealers typically have better connections with each individual bank, if they have banks at all. Buy here, pay here stores tend to use their own money and their own collateral, so they write the terms. You don't, and it's not a reputable bank that has to fall back on their promises. So, with that being said, I also recommend going to big stores and asking for special finance, specifically for special finance. Why would you do that? Because they are trained specifically to help people in credit situation crunches. So, if you walk into a dealership and say, hey, my name's Tom, I need to speak with your special finance department. They kind of look at you puzzled. like they have no clue what you're talking about, turn around and walk out. Why do I say that? Does that mean that that dealer can't get you approved? No. But what you're going to want is you're going to want someone who is specially trained and has the special connections with the better banks and credit and lenders to get you approved. So I hope you learned something here. I hope you take this advice. I hope you share it. Share it with a friend. Maybe you have a friend who is in this situation. Maybe it's you. I highly recommend all of these steps. It can save you a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of heartache. So have a good day. I hope you learned. I hope you enjoy it. And like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.